Hello guys, it's Peter from PS Sound, and this video I'm going to show you this Transporter T3 from the 80s and what we've done to it. This project started long time ago, last October 2021, and the van has been with us ever since because we had to go in smaller stages and we had difficulties along on the way as well. So yeah, this van was just resting over the winter mostly. But finally we managed to finish it. Quite many of you could see this in the background in previous videos, and we had many emails, messages that, Pete, what's that at the back? What's happening in that? And we shared a few teaser pictures on Facebook as well. But finally, now I can show it and I can talk over it. Most of you may not even have an idea about what it is. It's a good old Transporter Caravelle. I'm not even sure about the exact year when this was made. I think early 80s. And these Volkswagens have quite reputation and culture. People love camper vans in UK, and this is a very looked after one. As far as I know, he was a single owner, and he went on an auction as well, if I remember well, when the owner was saying, and he managed to buy it. And it's definitely a keeper for them. This is part of the family now. So what you will see in this is definitely over the top for most people, what they would put in a van like this audio wise. But those who have been following our channel, those people know that we don't build simple things. We build proper custom bespoke systems for best sound quality. So let's see what we have here. Open the front as well. Okay, so as you can see, he has back seats, but it doesn't have seat belts. So these seats at the back are not meant to be for travel, but for camping. You can fold that bed down and then you can sleep in it as well. It becomes level with the back, where we now have a lot of stuff like the old panel and the sub sitting there, which is going to be part of the second phase of this project because this is not finished. But people usually use something like this for camping. Some people fit kitchens in these and all sorts of things. But the owner of this is really into his music. He had several serious audio systems in his previous cars, and then he competed with those as well, so he knew what he wanted. He wanted quality. So back here we have Zapco HDSP5 Z16, a 16 channel DSP. We use 14 channels out of that right now, but we used all the RCA outputs, so we have dummy RCAs as well to make it looking, full. So out of that we have the first 6 channels running the tweeters, the mid-range and the mid-bass up front, the bottom amplifier, as you can see over there. All the cables were protected, braided and terminated properly with ferrules, labeled, all the usual things we do. So that bottom Zapco Z 150.6 Z2, that runs the front end, and the other 6-channel amplifier currently only runs the front subs with 2 channels only. We have 2 Pioneer ODR really old school subs that the owner had. These are really delicate, accurate subs. I think they are only like 150 watt RMS, but they are very musical. They don't have any overhang, they are accurate, tight, they punch beautifully. So they ended up as front subs in this sealed enclosure with plexi over them, because I will turn the lights on later, then it will make a bit more sense. First, originally the owner wanted those on each door, but it was a no-no when we realized how close that accelerator pedal is to the enclosure, so we fitted 6.5s. I will talk about that a bit later. So 2 channels from those 6 run the front subs, 1 channel each, because that's 165 watts for each, perfectly enough, and we have plenty of kick and output up front in this cabin, that's for sure. And the other 4 channels will be used later for rear fill, with a twist, that the owner will be able to use the rear field speakers, removable boxes, kind of enclosures for inside, but also for outside when the side door is pulled away, and then you can put the pair of, let's say, floor standers to the side, and then he can play music to the outside loud. So they will be like SQL, let's call them SQL type enclosures. So for that we have 4 channels reserved, because we will have mid bass and tweeter. So currently they are not used, and we will also have a rear sub underneath the new bed, which is going to be fitted soon. So we will have probably his Image Dynamic 12 ID Max 12 in a big box underneath the bed, with an extra monoblock and extra battery, because this car only has a small battery underneath the driver's seat, like a 60-70 amp hour small AGM, and that's just okay, not quite. And I just noticed that this slipped out a touch. There you go, that's better. So that's how the system will be complete one day, but that's going to happen at a later stage, because yeah, these projects take a lot of time. So that panel over there is just a simple trim panel, making nice transition between the sub box and all the cables running behind it, because these old vans have no cavities, nothing, no trim panels to hide cables in. So where the power cable has to come out from underneath the seat, we have a gland there, and all the speaker cables running to the front, they run on the floor. So we had to create this trim panel to make more sense. Up front we have a fully custom door panel, because originally this car had like a cardboard piece, nothing more, and there was zero chance to fit any proper speakers on that. So we designed this from scratch, and we wanted something that kind of blends in and makes sense, and hopefully you also think that we've managed to do that. Or even if you don't think that, well, customer is happy, and we are very happy with it, because some people who have seen this, they were like, what, is that custom? Yep, it is. So we built a sealed enclosure, that section at the bottom, that's a sealed enclosure for the Steg MSS6 mid-bass driver, because we didn't want any rattle in this car, and in that one now it's very controlled, very tight. And we had to build even all those pieces, everything custom handle, because originally this car had just like a rubbery type pulley, something like that, but we had to incorporate the factory door opener. That was tricky, because there's no tolerance behind this, it's straight onto the inner skin. Same way with the winder, the good old winder, and then the window can come down. Yeah, it was a very different era. But yeah, these doors took a long time, and this was one of the issues why we couldn't finish this one, and we couldn't share much from this with you guys. Some of the guys on Patreon could see the daily updates if you're interested about, you know, what was happening behind the scene, how we solved things, and all the little details behind the scene. Then you can check it out in the description, there's a link to Patreon. But we had major issue with the adhesive that we usually use in UK, and with this vinyl it was just a nightmare. It didn't want to stick to those grooves at all. It always lifted up, and then the only adhesive we could use is from Germany. But after Brexit we had problems with importing, because it became prohibited, and none of the couriers wanted to ship it to UK. So yeah, we had to have a holiday abroad just to get some adhesive. Crazy. And bring it back in the car. So finally we could finish it after so many months, and yeah, it makes a huge difference. Then the rest of the freeway up front is the rest of the MSS range from Steg, the MSS3, which is a 4-inch mid, and the MSS1 tweeter. And we had to build these pods. You will see at the end of the video in the pictures what it took to build these. It was definitely quite something, because this car has such a thin A-pillar, zero mounting option, that we had to come up with something like this. So we have a riv nut, this side it doesn't even show, somewhere around here at the back we have a riv nut fitted in the steel, so we could bolt this pod to the pillar. Obviously when the mid-range is out, then you can reach in, put an M6 a bolt in, and then do it up, and that holds it in there nice and tight. But as you can see, two sides are not symmetrical. We had the cluster on that side. I will walk around and you will see it was a bit more challenging there. Then we 3D printed the controller. We 3D printed a simple fascia with two switches in there, because there you go, I can switch that one on and then this one on as well. So that switches for the lights, and then now we have fancy LED lights. Yeah, the subs, downfire, that gap is increasing towards the back. You can see there's a bracket there holding the box, and there's another bracket underneath here at the back bolted to the steel in the car, so that front box can't go anywhere. Same way, oh yeah, maybe you will see from some of the pictures, this door cart has two bolts underneath those little pieces. That's why we had to build it from so many pieces. Those go to the factory points, and then we have other 4 bolts behind the driver inside going into rev nuts. Plus here there's a cavity in the door which is for the airflow going through that and to the back. But through this gap, if you can see it, we have another bolt in there going into an insert into the box holding the back end of it. So we have 7 bolts holding that. That's not going to go anywhere. People may think now this is really heavy. Actually it's not, because it's built from 12mm birch ply and it only weighs 9.5 kilo, which is not much for what it is, roughly 21 pounds. So yeah, it's rigid. Let's go to the other side, then I can show you the driver's side. Oh yeah, lovely rack. You can put up bikes and whatnot. So this is the other side. And then let's jump in. Then you can have a taste of what it looks like from here. So as you can see, this Speedo is not something we wanted to relocate. But we had to build that pod around that, so this pod was a bit trickier to slide it down and into that gap. But we didn't want that side built on straight onto the surface of the dash, because it would have been way lower. So that's why that looks like it's so much higher, but actually it's the same height with this. And the owner happened to have one of those magnetic phone holders or whatever that's for, and just so cool that that's pretty much, if I make it wide angle, that's pretty much where your holographic center image is. Bang on, pretty much. It's almost like sitting in a car and having 2 bookshelf speakers, kinda. I think these pods were around 2.5-ish liter, because they look quite big, but at some places the wall thickness is like 20-25 mil, because it's built up from several layers of wood, fiber feel, milkshake, and all the usual things. They are very, very rigid. So that's how we managed to squeeze in a system into this old school car. And this location for the front subs as well is beautiful. They blend into the system so well, you don't even notice that the subs are playing from there unless you look down. Everything just works so beautifully. There's no rattle in it. We were very worried about the dash, that the dash would rattle, because everything is 80s type, you know, really poor quality plastic, and we didn't have a chance to do anything with that. And we were like, you know, we will see, we turn the music up and then we will see how much it rattles, but actually it doesn't. Which is probably also down to the fact that all the speakers in the car are mounted very, very rigidly. Rock solid, as I would say, right? Many people hear me saying that quite often. But yeah, the mids, mid bass, front subs, everything is rigid, and there's, yeah, the owner may chime in and comment in the comment section, then he can share his thoughts about it. He didn't want to take part in the video. I was hoping for. Well, that's all cool. So this is the crazy project, probably the one that we've had for the longest time with us. You will see the pictures at the end of the video, and you will have a better insight into what went into it. Many days, I don't even know. we lost counting because we did it in several phases. But definitely way above 250 hours overall what went into this. We are definitely happy. Eddie had quite a big role in the door cards. He wanted to build all that top section with the handles and everything. I wanted to keep it simple because I knew that making that would introduce so much complexity, fabricating those separate pieces and then, you know, trimming all these little things separately and then putting them on, hiding bolts and whatnot. That was a lot of work, but it was worth it for sure. It blends in pretty nicely. It kind of makes sense in this car. Even these pods, making these with these sharp angles was quite something, but that was, yeah, I couldn't see these pods being rounded and smooth, because in this car nothing is nothing is smooth. Everything is sharp edge, straight lines. Look at this steering wheel, it's huge. Yeah, that is a pain. Changing gears with this is quite something. It's difficult to find anything on this. The owner will change that. Yeah, at the moment, yeah, it doesn't look great. We've done all that work and it was like, what's that? But as I said, we have plans for a second phase. We have rear sub, rear fuel, extra monoblock for the sub, extra rear battery. So at some point it will come back and then we will have a more complete system, but it's already so much fun. With the front subs, yeah, we don't have the crazy extension below 35-40 Hertz, but what these do between 35 and 80 Hertz up front is stunning. So musical, so punchy, and we have a lot of output considering that these are not, you know, power hungry subs, but at least they are sensitive, pretty sensitive. So yeah, that's where we got with this project all these months. Like in October, I think we spent 17-18 days on it. Then in January we had another 5, and then now we had roughly 7 days, so they are roughly 30 days overall on this car. That's how these things come together. When it's so bespoke, it takes time, and people have to be aware of what a system like this requires. It's not necessarily the equipment, it's rather the installation that's the biggest part of the bill. And I always mention this because people have high hopes that, oh, I want this, I just give a call to Pete, I send an email, and then it's going to cost, you know, only a couple of grand. Forget that. It's a lot of hard work, and sadly there aren't many people who can do something like this. I wish I could find more people who could work with us, but yeah, if you are down on the south coast in UK and you are ambitious and you have experience, then let us know. We might, you know, have a tea and have a chat. So this is where I leave it. Please check out description where you can see links to other fabrication videos, and you can also see a link to Patreon, as I mentioned earlier, where we have behind the scene footage, we have RT evaluations, weekly topics, all very useful stuff that people can learn a lot from. It's beneficial. If you don't like it, you can unsubscribe, but those people who have been with us, now we have more than 200 members, I think, they have a lot to take away from the content we share over there. So this is where I'm going to leave it. Enjoy the pictures, and we will see you in the next one. Take care.